Anthony Rendon, the Angels signed him to a 7-year, $245 million deal, same as Steven Strasburg got from the Nationals. So Rendon joins what is a star-studded lineup, Rob. Star-studded. I mean, you got Anthony Rendon, the postseason hero.
Yep.
You got Mike Trout, who some think is the best to ever take the field. You got Shohei Ohtani, the guy who, pitches and hits.
And he's a star. He can play.
When he plays,
yep.
Yeah. You got Alex Pujols, who's done, but still, he's on the roster.
He's got 2 years left.
He's a Hall of Famer.
$59 million, 2 years left. Okay.
I mean, you got Upton, B.J. Upton. So they're star-studded, and you got the great Joe Madden as your manager. But I'm telling you, Rob, unless I don't even want to say shore up the pitching, because it needs more than shoring up. Their pitching was historically bad last year. Near the bottom in ERA once again, over 5.
And I think you said BJ, you meant Justin.
Justin Upton, his brother.
Right.
And then I heard a stat today that just knocked me off my feet.
All right.
The Angels had 22 quality starts among their whole entire pitching staff. 22 quality starts.
Out of 162
Garrett Cole had
games.
more than that by himself.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan. We're making up all types of terms now, quality starts. But still, you only got 22? So, Rob, they can sign Rendon. They can sign all the hit. They can get trade for Mookie Betts. They can get the best lineup they can at the plate. Until they get some pitching, this is not going to change.
Well, the story out tonight is that they're looking into getting Corey Kluber, who, of course, is the Indians' ace. The Indians were talking about trading him a year ago, Chris, so You're right. They need pitching, and if they could add Kluber to the top of their rotation with the lineup and the other stuff that's going on, they're not playing around. You don't go sign Joe Madden. You don't give Mike Trout $430 million unless you're serious about trying to make something happen. Dallas Keuchel's out there. Madison Bumgarner's out there, Chris. There's people at Rayu from the Lakers.
Money to go get guys.
Yes, they have money. Moreno, is it Moreno, the owner? He's not broke. He's got plenty of Arnie Moreno. He's got money. Look at the money he spent the last couple of years alone. And if I remember, for even Ohtani, he had to pay like a fee, right, for him to come from Japan.
Right.
And
Ohtani should be able to pitch this year, right?
Yeah, I think so, if they decide that he's going to pitch. And I think they need him to pitch.
I think they're looking at him doing both. I saw something where I think Madden said he's open to him even pitching on days when he's hitting.
Why not? I don't blame him.
So, but if they get Kluber, and I still think, like you mentioned some other names, they need like 2 guys.
Right.
But if they get that, then I'll be very high on the Angels.
But I'll tell you this. This move today, where they go out and get Rendon and add another big-time bat for big-time money, this also, and I understand, Chris, pitching is very important to baseball. I'm not trying to poo-poo it. But, this greatest player who's played all these years, made the playoffs one time, has mostly, and I'm talking about Mike Trout, played long stretches of more than half the season, 100 games a year, 120 games a year, and games that don't matter because you're out of the playoff run in April or May, you know what I mean, after the first 45 days. Now you're going to be playing in games that matter. This team is going to be able to stay in some of these games. You don't have to have the greatest pitching staff, all right? But they're going to be a candidate for the postseason with the lineup alone. They're going to be in the mix. Yes, if you want to win it, Chris, they're going to have to go and get a pitcher or two, like a guy of that caliber. But finally, there's going to be more pressure on Trout to perform in games that matter. He's been playing almost his whole career in meaningless games, and there is a difference between coming up to bat, in July, Chris, when you're 40 games out and you could swing for the fences, you can do whatever you want to do because it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, but if you're playing that way, you're not going to be as productive individually, and he's been productive. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, of course, there is a difference when the games matter.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that these games are going to matter for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he performs because he's only made the playoffs one time in his 9 years. And I think this is when your owner goes out and spends this kind of money, and Chris, I'm going to say this, they will get a pitcher. There's no way he's spending this money and thinks that the rotation that they have is going to be good enough.
Well, the question is it the right pitcher?
No, right. But they will. You agree with me there that they'll go get somebody.
Yeah, they got to. Like you said, I mean, you went out and got the manager. You went out and added a bat. Yeah, you already have star power. He's clearly trying to win, and obviously he's got people telling him he needs pitching. So I agree with you. The pressure on Trout. Here's my only thing. Baseball, man, it's just different, Rob. And you know it as well as anybody. It's just different. Now, I think in New York, maybe in Boston.
New York, Boston, places, Philadelphia.
Yeah, if you don't win it in New York, yes. You will not, your legacy will be negatively affected to a great degree. No question. But a lot of other places with the Angels, I mean, we've seen some. King Griffey he had one playoff series win in his entire career. He's viewed as, rightly so, one of the greatest players ever.
But not the greatest.
Well, that's not because he didn't win. His numbers weren't the greatest.
If Trout continues this path, and I'm just saying, of putting up these numbers in WAR, and all the stat geeks love Mike Trout, and they vote him MVP, and they want to make him the MVP every year, and he doesn't get to the playoffs or doesn't do any kind of damage. I'm telling you, people say, oh, he's a great player, but very few people will think of him as the greatest player who ever played. I just don't believe that. When you talk about some of the greats, they've all won. Barry Bonds is the only guy who
didn't win.
No, but a lot of people.
Rod Carew won one playoff series? No playoff series.
But I'm talking about
his whole career.
I'm talking about the Hank Aaron's, the Willie Mays', the Babe Ruths. All those guys were winners to go along with those great numbers. And I'm not. Barry Bonds played in 2002. They should have won that World Series.
Did Ted Williams win one?
No, he didn't win.
Okay,
and everybody,
that's a very short list great player.
Yeah, Ted Williams is another guy who everybody thinks of him as a great hitter, Chris. But very few people say Ted Williams is the greatest player who ever played.
Yeah, but I don't think he's the greatest hitter ever.
Do you think you could build a guy seriously and say he's the greatest player ever, but he wasn't a winner? I don't think they go together, and I think that's where Trout.
I think baseball is entirely different. Look, Mike Trout could hit 400 with 60 home runs this year. Rendon could do the same thing. And if their pitching is what it was last year, they could miss the playoffs.
Here's the difference. Bonds 7 times in the postseason in 22 years. 1 time for Trout in 9. Just double that up and say 2 and 18. That is not, people will not look at him. And I'm not saying they'll look at the numbers, Chris, and they'll say his WAR is great.
He was with much better franchises historically. When you give it that, Pittsburgh, it was they
were up and coming at the time,
now,
right? No,
but historically they've been a pretty decent franchise, and obviously the Giants,
and then the Giants when he got there, so that turned around. But I'm just saying, this is legacy time. He's got the help now in the lineup. They do need pitching, but I just do believe people will not accept if they don't win again or they don't make the playoffs. They're gonna like, what is going on here? Why can't?
How you gonna? If his numbers are great, how you gonna blame him? To me, it's the nature of the sport.
The numbers will be empty to me. I guess that's what I'm looking at. Empty numbers. Yes, he's piling up numbers.
We can go up and down the line with baseball greats who didn't have postseason success.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the putting up numbers in low pressure situations where you're not playing in big games and games that matter. That's where I look at players as well. If the Angels this year, when were they out of the playoffs, Chris? In April or was it May?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
The one thing I'll give you I think today, because of the intensified media coverage, all the sports talk radio shows, all the debate shows on television, everything's just intensified.
I agree.
I do think that creates more of a pressure, not pressure on winning, more of an emphasis on winning, right? In every sport. Like basketball, Jerry West lost his first 7 finals appearances, but was nicknamed Mr. Clutch.
Right.
That wouldn't happen today. We put Oscar Robertson, some thought was the greatest ever, won 1 NBA championship later in his career with Kareem. So I'll give you that there is more of an emphasis on winning now. But I just think the nature of baseball, with pitching being so important and the best players can't impact the game on that end of it, I think it's a little bit different.
Okay. I think that's fair, but I do believe this guy's going out, the owner's going out, spending money, putting together a team, and at some point, and now we're like this. I just want to see Trout in games that matter and just see how great he is. That's all.
No, I
That's
agree.
what I want to see this
great.
year. Would you like to see him play in meaningful games and then put up the same numbers? And then I'll be like, that this guy's a stud. The Angels were
he's
vying
a stud
for.
anyway.
Oh, you know what I mean.
I agree.
Okay.
And not only him. Because look at that star power they have. But last thing I'll say, Rob, case in point, do you look down, and then you know what I mean, is Bryce Harper viewed negatively because he left the Nationals, Philly didn't do anything, and his old team won without him? Does that really negatively, make us look negatively at Bryce Harper?
The first year, no one's saying. I don't think he had the kind of lineup that the Angels
have
now.
Your team. But you left and they got better without you.
Yeah.
My point is, in basketball, that would be a huge fact. Like if that happened in basketball, we would look at the player that left, like Kyrie Irving in Boston, and we would put it on him. In football, if the quarterback does that, we will put it on him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying that to me, that illustrates the difference in the sports.
Okay.
All right. Does the Anthony Rendon signing put more pressure on Mike Trout to get the Angels back into playoff contention?
All right, Blake in Bakersfield, California. You're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Blake?
Hey, Chris, Rob, how y'all doing, man? Love the show.
Thank you, buddy.
So I really think it does put a lot of pressure on Mike to get the Angels further. They play in such a tough division that it's kind of hard to put everything on his shoulders, that he somehow has to magically get them to the playoffs. But this Rendon signing definitely puts a lot more pressure on them to be successful, considering their top 2 targets in free agency signed elsewhere, pitching-wise. So
what if they don't, and Rob and I think they will, they almost have to, but what if they don't add a top-notch pitcher?
Oh, they have
Will you still feel that way?
I think there's still big expectations for him, because whenever you sign a guy to $250 million, he's got to show out somehow. But I think if their pitching sucks, then I think, quite frankly, they're limited in what they can do.
Right.
No doubt. I get it. And, Chris, your point is well taken. Thanks, Blake, for the call. So I'm not poo-pooing what you're saying. But there is some added pressure when you go and stock your lineup and you have had a guy who hasn't played in any big games for a long time. Tony in D.C., you're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Tony?
Fellas, what's up? What's going on?
How you?
Rob Parker, I am so happy you are back, my brother.
Thank you.
There's been some blasphemy going on, when you were gone.
Is that right? They were ripping me?
What?
Look, Rob G said something that was the most blasphemous thing I ever heard in my life last week. But I'm going to call next Tuesday on my rant, and Rob G knows that.
Oh,
you're going to trash him?
You're going to trash him. Okay.
Hell
all right.
Yeah.
But
what did Rob
Mike
G? I'm
Trout,
trying to remember now.
The Magic Johnson thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
To Mike Trout, this man is special, and barring injury, I think he could be one of the 5 greatest. But, Rob, unlike any other sport, baseball, you need all 25 guys.
No, there's no doubt.
In today's baseball, the middle relief is just as important as the starting pitching now.
Right.
And, if they don't get any pitching, Mike Trout's doing his thing. He's doing his job. Unlike Bryce Harper hitting 230, this man is a 5-tool superstar.
Oh, there's no doubt.
It's on the Angels to get him some talent.
Right.
No, but they are, and I'm giving them credit for not just signing him the $430 and saying, okay, we're done. They could have said, Artie Moreno, I'm done. I spent $500 million last year, right? No.
Yeah.
He went out and got a big time, the biggest stick in free agency. And as I said earlier to Chris, they're looking at Corey Kluber. They add Corey Kluber to the top of their rotation, man. They're in business right away.
I think the crux of the matter is this, right? And that's a good call from Tony. Because here's the deal, Rob. Let's say, whether they get the pitching or not, let's say that Trout hits 340 in that range, 45 homers, whatever, tons of RBI, and analytically his numbers are what they always are. Great,
right.
And they don't make the playoffs. How in the world are we going to put blame on him?
Now, here's the flip side. Now they're playing in meaningful games, right? They get a pitcher, Chris, and he doesn't put up the same numbers that he did when he was batting or playing with no pressure. Then do you look at him differently?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if he and I would probably give him a few years. If he has a down year, I mean, it does unfortunately happen sometimes. It typically doesn't happen to the all-time.
No.
All-time great. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Jeter, until he was really old, never. You know what I mean? Never had just a bad year. Really.
Right. No, I get it, but I'm just saying that's it. Now
that would make you look at it. Yeah.
Can we squeeze in Rodney from St. Louis real quick? Rodney, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. You got to do it quickly.
Hey, real quick. Hey, what's up, fellas? But hey, this is the thing. I'm sorry, but the disrespect for Alex Pujols is just too much. It's Albert Pujols. All right. And
Albert.
I know it was a mistake, Chris. I know you get up early in the morning. You said Alex.
Okay.
I'm not tripping up.
Did I don't know. Check that out, Rob G. I don't know if I said that.
He said, yeah, you did by mistake. You did it by mistake. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right. So Albert Pujols is one of the best players that has ever been. So let's not put Trout ahead of him on this all-time talking list. And he's still got a little bit left in the tank. But I'm from St. Louis.
A very little bit. Stop it. A very little bit.
I know you're in St. Louis, and Albert Pujols was unbelievable in St. Louis, and the numbers he put up
he was great
was amazing.
But he hadn't lived up to it with the Angels.
No
question.
Not at the end, right? Especially the last few years.
The whole time, for the most part.
Numbers were not that terrible.
Let's keep it real.
But not as good as they were in St. Louis. So that's where we at.
Not what they expected.